Hello, hello. I'm gonna fall down. Yeah, Sir David the Bard. The cockroach. Alexa, stop. I love it. Alexa plays me music all the time. I wanted to thank Anna. I'm not going to mention her last name. Anna's been watching me for 12 years, and she applied. Anyway, I wanted to thank you guys, especially for hitting the PayPal, just $1 here or there. It just makes me feel good. You're making an old man happy. Also, if you subscribe, I might get a little money from YouTube. Here's what Anna reminded me of. My father. Now, you know, I've told you my father was a child molester. He had some character flaws, to say the least. He also was bipolar. That's how I became bipolar. My oldest son is bipolar, and my grandson is bipolar. Now, I have found being bipolar to be fairly pleasurable. I've enjoyed being bipolar. It's fun. Your mind goes all the time. You don't need much sleep. You're very creative, most of them. Now, again, there's always a variance. Not all bipolar people enjoy being bipolar or are creative, but the way it came out in my life, extremely creative. Now, my father, again, it's rumored, and I don't know. His IQ was rumored to be 140. Well, 140 is a genius. Was my father a genius? I'm going to let you decide. I'm going to tell you a couple of stories about my father, and then you decide, did he have an IQ of 140? We lived in a house in Arlington, Riverside area of California, and we had a 3-bedroom house, and my father said, well, I'd like to have a 4-bedroom house. That was reasonable. We had 5 kids. I was the oldest of 5 kids. Well, did he call a subcontractor? No. Did he know code for adding a bedroom to a house? No. Did he have any construction skills? No. Did he just have an idea? Yes. Well, here was the bipolar idea. We had a 2-car garage, and I don't think I've ever seen it before or since. They were in line. You put 1 car in, and then you put the second car in behind the 1 car. It was like a skinny 2-car garage. Well, it became a 1-car garage. My dad decided to add a 4th bedroom. And I was probably 12, maybe 13. And I watched my father with my own eyes and my own ears. And I said to him, Dad, you know, how are we going to add the 4th bedroom? And he says, watch this. And I'll never forget it. He took a chainsaw. Yeah, a chainsaw. And he cut half of the 2-car garage in half. Now, if the garage was connected to the house, that might have been a reasonable thing. You just put a door in it and you have another bedroom. No, he cut the whole garage in half with a chainsaw and then decided to move it to the back of the house. Now, did he have a crane? Did he have, any equipment? No, he had a chainsaw and a hammer and one man Now, I don't know, maybe he was the Incredible Hulk, but somehow he moved half of the chainsawed garage to the back of the house to add on another bedroom. Did it have code, electricity, wire, windows? No, none of that shit. He just added the garage to half the house for a new bedroom. Well, yes, it was my bedroom. And it had extension cords, and it had no window and no door except the door that went into a hall that connected to the house. Well, is that 140 IQ? I guess. I've never seen 140 IQ. So that was now a 4-bedroom house, and we sold it that way. Now, my dad again decided to save some money. We had 5 kids, and he worked at a newspaper. He was a linotype operator. We didn't have a lot of money. So he decided that he was going to stop the pickup of our garbage by a regular garbage truck in the street. So he said, you know, David, I think I can save some money. We're going to store our trash, and I'm going to buy a trailer, and I'm going to put a hitch on the DeSoto station wagon, and I'm going to pile the trash for a week or 2 weeks in the trailer, and then I'm going to take the trailer and dump the trash. And I thought, well, IQ 140, why do most people just put their garbage can out by the curb and pay the trash man to pick it up? Well, we were going to save some money and live, I always say, high on the hog. I don't know where that came from. So he bought a small trailer, and we threw our trash and garbage in the trailer. Now, did the neighbors like that trailer parked between us and them? No. Were we white trash? I think so. I don't know. We were in California. I think you have to be in the South to be white trash. Maybe not. So anyway, he would fill the trailer. Then he had to have the expense of buying the trailer and the expense of putting a hitch on our DeSoto station wagon, our family car. And then he would take it to the dump. Well, he started to figure out with that high IQ what the cost was of taking that to the dump, and the gas and the inconvenience and the expense and the smell in the neighborhood. So he goes, well, I have a better idea. I think saving the trash is a good idea, and I think having the trailer was a good idea. But taking the garbage to the dump cost money. So he decided from now on everything was going to be good, but he wasn't going to go to the damn dump and pay the money. He was just going to dump our shit over the edge of a cliff or a ravine or whatever. So now, in this day and age, we're in August now of 23, you wouldn't think of something like that. But in the old days, we throw our shit out the window. We threw McDonald's cups and diapers and whatever. We thought it was going to be a good idea in America to just throw shit out the window. So we had to evolve that wasn't a good idea. And also, it was against the law to just dump your shit from a trailer into your public land or whatever. So we saved some money for a while. And one day I was in the house and a knock at the door. My dad was home, and he opened the door there was the sheriff. Again, I've never been arrested. I've never had a juvenile charge or an adult charge. But my family, I think, has become well known in the law enforcement community. And I'm listening, and the sheriff said, are you Mr. Crossett? My dad goes, yes. He says, are you Dwayne Crossett? Yeah, how'd you know my first name? The sheriff holds up checks from Dad's checkbook that were in the trash. He goes, do you see this? And my dad, of course, with a high IQ, said, yes, that's my checkbook. Where did you get that? And the sheriff said, we got that in the ravine where you've been dumping your damn trash illegally for several months. Now, I think the sheriff could have arrested my father. I think it was probably illegal what he was doing. But the sheriff was kind, and he said to my dad, you need to go get all of the trash that you've dumped on public land and dispose of it properly. Or we have other legal remedies, and I think that was an arrest warrant. So my dad had to go with our trailer to his trash site and pick up all the trash and dispose of it properly. IQ 140, maybe, but you know, the common sense is not equally distributed among God's children. So, I told you I have a whole story on Buck, that he bought us, the family dog, Buck. Well, the next thing that I remember is my father decided to build a fence. We were on a corner lot, and he said, well, I'd like to improve the property. He'd already made a 4-bedroom house, now he's going to put a new fence up. Well, it was straight, it was reasonable, you know, he didn't have construction skills, but he put up a 6-foot fence on our corner lot. Well, one of the neighbors who had common sense, not a high IQ, came to our door and said, Dwayne, your fence is too high. You're blocking our ability to see if there's any cars coming on the corner lot around the corner. It's dangerous and it's illegal. It's 6 feet. The code, of course my dad couldn't spell code, he never looked code up. Anyway, the neighbor said, you need to take the fence down. And my dad said, no. So I don't know how my dad knew what the code was, if he looked it up or whatever, but the chainsaw, the famous chainsaw, came out after he found out it was an illegal fence. And he walked along the fence with a chainsaw and cut 3 feet off of the new fence. And it was a 3-foot fence now, and it met code. Yeah, we were saving a lot of money with this high IQ father. Well, the next thing he decided to do was we had a DeSoto. You young people, you look it up on AI. It's a car that hasn't been made for 100 years. But we had a DeSoto with a high IQ, and the engine in the DeSoto wore out. And my dad said, well, we're not going to buy a new car. We can't afford it. We're going to put a new engine in the DeSoto station wagon. Well, in those days, we exchanged engines. The lower class people, the middle and upper class, would just buy a new car. But we were going to get a new engine. So my dad bought, at a junkyard, a Pontiac. Now back in those days, Pontiac was fast. They had what we called a hydromatic transmission. You people today, you've done so much better. Your cars have 6, 8, 10 gears in a transmission. But in those days, we only had usually one gear, Dynaflow engine, and it never shifted. It just had a fan kind of a device in it. But anyway, this DeSoto had a big engine now, and it had a hydromatic transmission. And I guess my dad was having a middle-age crisis. We were kind of little children, and he would put the back down in the station wagon so it would lay flat. There were no seats. You just crawled around back there. And of course, who heard of a seatbelt in those days? And my dad would come up to red lights, and there would be these other people there that would look over and say, "That's a shit car." And my dad was, and we were embarrassed. It was a shit car, even in those days. But when the light turned green, Andretti would take off, and our kids, all of us 5, would roll to the back part of the station wagon under like a rocket launching to the moon. And my dad would beat every car off the line. Well, that was embarrassing. But I grew up, and I went to BYU. I was going to graduate BYU and get a college degree. Nobody in our family had ever gotten a college degree. So we looked at the price of housing at BYU, and we couldn't afford it. I couldn't stay in the dorms, and I couldn't rent an apartment. I was a poor BYU student. And of course, the church, of Mormon church, they didn't give a shit. They just gave me the international sign language of the Mormon church. If you want to come here, you got to figure it out. So my dad and I think we had a bipolar meeting of the minds, is what Anna said on her comment. We had a bipolar meeting of the minds. We decided it would be a good idea to live in a trailer. It was cheaper. You could be in a trailer park, and you had a little kitchen and a bedroom and living room, and we decided to become trailer trash. Shit. I'm so embarrassed that I've lived on this planet the way I've lived. So we looked in Provo, Orem, Utah, for a trailer. Well, they were too expensive. In Utah, buying a trailer to live in to go to BYU, we couldn't afford. So my dad said, well, trailers in California, in the senior trailer parks, were much more affordable. So we decided to scan the trailer parks, the senior trailer parks in California, to buy a trailer. Now, we looked, and he had, in those days, a Dodge Dart car. It didn't have the big engine. It did have the 4-barrel carburetor on it, and it was somewhat quick and powerful, but it was a family car. I mean, it had McDonald's bags in the back seat. And I said to Dad, you know, if we buy a trailer in California here, how are we going to get it to Utah? I thought we would hire real people, a trailer company, to move the trailer up to BYU and put it in a trailer park. No, Dad said, no, I have an idea. When Dad has ideas, it's a comic strip. We're going to pull it to Utah. It was 750 miles behind the Dodge Dart. I said, Dad, it's a family car. It's not a truck. It's not. I had some more common sense, I think, in those days than he did. He said, nope, we're going to put a hitch on the car, and we're going to tow that to Utah. I said, okay, all your other ideas have been great. This is probably going to be great too. So we went to a welding shop in Oakview, California, by Ojai, where I was raised. And we said to the welder, put a hitch on this Dodge Dart. No problem. I'm going to make a little money here and put a hitch on your car. So he was started to put the hitch on, and my dad said to him, now make sure it's extra sturdy. And the workman, the welder said, well, what do you mean extra sturdy? And my dad said, we're going to pull a 40-foot mobile home to Utah with this hitch. Now, the welder goes, holy shit, what is this guy? Does he have an IQ of 150? And yeah, he did. So the welder said, look, I don't mind putting an extra heavy-duty hitch on this Dodge Dart, but I want you to sign a waiver that says you're pulling a 40-foot mobile home on my hitch, and you're probably gonna pull the hitch off the car. No, Dad goes, no. It's gonna be okay. He was a welder too, so he was a genius there. So, a long story long, he put the hitch on, and it was extra heavy duty. Well, we thought, we went to a trailer park, and we found a 40-foot, one-bedroom mobile home. And Dad thought that all we were going to do is back the Dodge Dart up to the mobile home, use the crank to lower it down onto the ball, the hitch, and we were ready to go to Utah. Well, when we pulled up with the Dodge Dart and backed it up to the trailer, and the people in the trailer park, now I don't want to make fun of trailer park people because I've been trailer park people, but sometimes they're not the brightest stars in the sky, and there's a reason that people live in a trailer park, because they can't afford a real house. So when we backed up, all of the trailer trash people came out and said to my dad, what are you doing? And he says, we're going to take this home, mobile home that we bought for my son to live in at BYU, to Utah. And all of this crowd said, well, you're not going to pull it with a car, are you? And yeah, we got a special hitch on this car. We're going to pull it with a car. And of course, I was young, dumb, stupid, naive. I thought my dad had some intelligence. I didn't know he had no common sense until later in life. So all these older people that were experienced said, you know, that isn't going to work. And my dad argued with him, yes, it was going to work. So he backed the car up to this 40-foot trailer. I don't know how many tons it was, but anyway, he lowered the trailer down onto this special hitch that we had to pull it. And as he lowered the weight of that trailer down on the hitch, the front wheels of the Dodge Dart started to race into heaven. They were doing a pay-lay-ale move. Well, when he finally got the trailer loaded on the hitch, you couldn't steer the Dodge Dart because the damn front wheels weren't on the ground. So my dad said, well, I have an idea. I go, Jesus, another new idea. So he said, we need a dolly to hold the weight of the trailer, and then the Dodge Dart with its engine could pull, and it would not have the weight on the back of the hitch. The weight would be on a dolly. So we looked all over California, and lo and behold, we found a two-wheel dolly, and it was made to hold the weight of a trailer. And so we went back to the trailer park, and of course when we drove in, all the residents came out because they knew it was going to be a bipolar show. The newspaper could have been called to have this event recorded. So we backed up the dolly to the trailer, and we lowered the weight of the trailer onto the dolly. Well, the dolly couldn't take the weight. We couldn't even back the car up to the dolly to pull it. So my dad said, I have an idea. And I said, okay. Now what's the idea? He says, we need to balance this weight. It's too heavy in the front of the trailer. I said, Dad, how are you going to do that? He said, well, I have an idea. We're going to put cinder blocks in the bedroom of the trailer to balance the weight. And I said, yeah, but Dad, isn't that going to add another ton, another 1,000 or 2,000 pounds to the trailer? Yeah, but the Dodge can do it. I go, okay. So we went to the cinder block company, Home Depot, and we bought cinder blocks. And we put them in the back of the back bedroom of the trailer until the front of it came up enough that the dolly could handle the weight. And Dad said, hey, it looks good to me. I said, well, I'm young, I'm stupid, I'm naive, I guess, Dad, it looks good to me. So we back up the car to the dolly that was now hooked to the trailer. So we had a train of shit. When you drive a truck, you know, you don't want it to be able to do one of these. You want it to be doing one of these. So the people were there, and Dad backed the car up, lowered the car dolly to the car, and we hooked up to it. Well, we started to take it now out of the park. And I have to admit, I don't know why, but the white trash people were cheering. They thought it was never going to work, but the bipolar minds got their shit together, and we pulled the trailer out of the trailer park. And my dad looked at me, and I looked at him, and I said, hey, you know, they think we're bipolar, but bipolar can get shit done. So we started to drive this 40-foot trailer behind whatever, a 20-foot car. So we had 40, 50, a 60 length unit. Well, there in California at sea level, the Dodge Dart engine, it strained, but on level ground, it was able to pull that trailer. And of course, we had no lights in the back of it, totally illegal. And I'm sure if the police had seen the combination, they would have gone, this is shit, take it off the road, get a truck, take that trailer to the trailer junkyard. So anyway, it worked a little bit all the way out through Lancaster and Palmdale. And we had to climb our first mountain. Now, you got to realize, Utah, I think we're at about 5,500, 5,300 feet in the air. We were in California at sea level. Well, as you get to 5,300 feet, you don't float there. You have to climb mountains to get to 5,300 feet. And the air gets thinner, and you lose horsepower in a internal combustion engine. So the Dodge Dart wasn't as strong going up Highway 14 into Lancaster. My dad goes, hey, no problem, we'll just, you know, take it slow. Take it slow. 20 miles an hour. 20 miles an hour on a freeway in California. Even in those days, you had to go at least 45 miles an hour to be legal on a freeway. But now, my dad, 20 was fast enough. Well, 20 miles an hour, and he had the accelerator to the floor. Now this Dodge engine, I have to compliment Dodge. Most engines would have gone, screw this, I'm done, and blow black smoke. But no, this little Dodge, he had it on the floor. The 4-barrel carburetor was wide open, giving full power at 20 miles an hour, dragging this 40-foot trailer up Highway 14, our first mountain in California. Well, everything was working good, if you call it good. But the engine got so hot, the radiator cap blows off the radiator, and the water comes out of the radiator. Now the hot button, the needle, goes over to hot. And even Dad knew that that was not a good thing. And if we drove it hot like that with no water, it was going to burn the engine up. So we needed to have water to put in the radiator. Well, he had another idea. We got a 55-gallon can, big barrel, and we filled it with water for the radiator. Well, that added another 500 pounds to this lumbering cockroach combination unit. So we had this big 55-gallon can of water, and he put it like in the middle of the trailer so the weight wouldn't be too heavy in the front, too heavy in the back. So we drove up Highway 14 there, and we could go, well, I don't know, maybe 15, maybe 20 miles until the radiator blew up again. So we'd put water in the radiator, and we'd go another 15 or 20 miles, it would blow up again. Well, we made it up Highway 14 and got up to Lancaster and Palmdale, California, and then started across the desert to Las Vegas. Well, the 55-gallon barrel of water, we had to use it quite often because the little engine was just screaming and screaming on the floor, and that 4-barrel carburetor just dumping gas in. I think we got about 3 miles to the gallon on gas because the engine was to the floor. So we pulled into a gas station. Now, you have to realize that some gas stations have an overhang. They have an area that protects you from the weather. And when you pull a mobile home into a gas station, you've got to be a little bit careful how you attach the hose and get gas to the car. Well, we pulled in, the 2 attendants came out, and in those days they would pump the gas for you. And they said to my dad, "Good Lord," he said, "this is a huge project. What, are you just going across town or whatever?" And my dad said, no, we're going to Utah." The 2 attendants, they couldn't have been more shocked. If my dad had been naked driving, they wouldn't have been as shocked. They said, "You're taking this to Utah?" Dad said, "Yeah, we're taking it to Utah." Well, we made it. We climbed the mountains in Utah and St. George and Cedar City, and I do remember that he let me drive because it was too long of a trip. Usually it's about 11 hours, but when you're going 20 miles an hour, it's like 38 hours. So I had to drive. And this mobile home had brakes on it, and he had mounted in the car a little handle that when you were coming to a stoplight, you could move the handle and the trailer would have brakes and you could actually stop it. Well, he had an idea, another one, that to wire the brakes to the trailer, he ran a wire from the car underneath the trailer to the trailer brakes. Now, it seemed like a good idea, but when we drove, that wire got caught going up and down and over curbs and whatever. We had to go over curbs all the time because we couldn't turn it sharp enough. And I was driving, and there was a red light, and I had this big load on the back, heavy, and so I applied the brakes to the car, and then I reached down to brake the trailer so I could actually stop. And the wire that the IQ 140 put was ripped off. Now, I was in a little Dodge Dart, and in those days we didn't even have disc brakes. We had drum brakes everywhere. All four wheels were drum brakes. And I was a pretty smart kid. I would start stopping way back from a red light because I knew it was heavy, and I wanted to make sure I could stop. Well, I started braking, pulling the handle, pumping the brakes, and the little Dodge Dart wheels were just skidding, and this trailer was just pushing and pushing. I wasn't even slowing down. And I looked at Dad, and he looked at me, and it was kind of like stereophonic assholes, bipolar, shit, shit, we can't stop. Well, we couldn't stop. So I get on the horn to warn the monkey population, we're coming through that intersection. We're not even going to slow down. This unit is on its way. Well, it pushed through the intersection. I went through the red light. The Dodge Dart wheels were skidding rubber on them, trying to stop that damn thing with cinder blocks in the back, 55-gallon extra water, and 40 feet long. So it pushed us about a quarter of a mile. We went through the red light, and we didn't stop for about a quarter of a mile until it came to rest. Well, it was an adventure. It was an adventure. I hate a part of my dad because he was a child molester, and that's a terrible character flaw. He really should have been in jail, but he was pulling a mobile home to Utah for me, and my wife and I and one baby lived in that mobile home for probably 2 years, maybe 2.5, 3 years, in Provo. There was an old trailer park. It's not there anymore. But we lived in that trailer and went to school, and I graduated from BYU. So those are the genetics. Those are the heritage that I came from. Now, thank you again. I'm going to end this video for hitting my PayPal. Just $1 in there makes me a happy, happy camper. That somebody goes, it was a little entertaining. God, we learned something. Well, he's spending his time. Now, let me say, please subscribe, because that YouTube says if I get enough, I can make extra money there. I'm going to say it again on this video. The women are wonderful. They're supportive. They're loving. They're kind. They have really positive comments, and they're as sweet as can be. Where are the men? Are we so cool? Are we so, well, fuck him? What's the deal? How come I can't get a man to say, oh, that was a good video, thank you very much, and put $1 in PayPal? I hope that's not going to continue. I hope that maybe the men are working and maybe the women are not working. They could be at home, but they're probably working. So anyway, let me end this video. I had fun remembering my dad, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'm done.